Hi everyone. I wanted to talk to you today about a topic that has been a very important topic in my life. That is depression. I was depressed for uh, many years of my life, and I've been visiting after a while doctors and getting my diagnose and so on and so on. But after a long consideration in that period of my life, I have decided to seek out a way that is more personal and more rooted in the thought that I am having a whole and sane being inside myself. So, um, this has taken me a few years, but today I can say that I have definitely found ways to deal with this topic, and not in a way of like just being okay with it, but actually making really major changes and transforming my life inside out. And today I want to um, give this further to other people, and I'm helping others to find the same and make steps outside of this condition and learning how to deal with this condition in a natural way rather than in a way of using medication or other things to create a quick fix, having a quick solution to the emotional discomfort that a depression or a bipolar can have. So what is a depression? Um, People that have a depression, they often talk about feeling extremely sad, feeling very down, having a lack of energy, feeling hopeless, lacking meaning, lacking purpose, lacking direction, don't want to do anything, um, and many more. Like this can even go um, into very extreme ways of um, being really in a terror with yourself, having your head constantly um, chatter all the time, and yourself sending yourself constantly negative and disapproving messages. This can even go so far that you've completely disidentified from this. So it's almost like these voices are suggestive, they're like outside, they can be, um, it can seem like the world has taken on that opinion about yourself. And it is really not easy to deal with this topic. And a lot of people I know that deal with this issue are isolating themselves because there's a lot of fear, um, brings about conflicts in the relationships that you have with your friends, with your partner, with your family. Um, and I've definitely had experiences where I had that myself, and it does come up every now and so often. But now, what the difference that I have is that I know now how to work with it and how to go right to the root of the emotional conflict. Um, this is not a thing that you heal and then it will never come back. It is more of a habit to suppress emotion, and these suppressed emotion they can they can be bottled up at your core. That is not a physical place or something. It is more um, emotionally inside your emotional body. And the reason why we usually can't access that is because it is overlayered by a distractive behavior. This is also the way how we suppress it, by distracting ourselves, by trying to get away from ourselves in a certain way. That can be through um, addiction, through substance use, but also through um, behavior inside relationships um, that I'm only dealing with certain things about myself, but not with the other. That I'm chasing after specific goals. That can be definitely a way how to completely distract myself from my feelings. For some, it's money. For some, it's sex. Um, all the different um, all the different factors can play into that. And we often come to a place where we think that then it is something bad to want money or it is bad to want sex. That is when we go into the opposite direction of the whole. But it is still a certain kind of like getting myself out of really being with my feelings. So there's a lot to this topic. There's a lot to reflect upon, and sometimes, most times, it is very hard to tackle this alone because usually we have created this problem with our head, and so if our head tries to figure out the problem, it usually uses exactly the same mechanisms how the problem got created in the first place. So it looks maybe different for a little bit, but it has the same outcome again because it is a repetitive, um, suggestive kind of way of working with this. And it is often a solution and quick fix based approach rather than a really deep going approach. So, what can we do about this? The way I work with this is, especially with my clients, is first of all gaining an understanding through observing the whole ways of how we deal with our life. And we do that by building attention and building awareness. That process can take a little while, but already by building this awareness, we create a certain mindfulness approach in the way we do things. And that by itself can already smooth out certain feelings that are in the more upper layers of the conflict. What I mean by that is, for example, that just simply by gaining awareness, we're starting to take a perspective that has more sight, that is overlooking our whole external and internal world more, and by that, it becomes more approachable. We gain a slight, still superficial, but a slightly deeper knowledge of who we are right now with the conflict. Not who we want to be, but who we are right now with still with all of our behaviors. And that gives a little bit of a feeling like, okay, I think, I do not know how yet, but I think there is a way in which I can deal with this, because it creates the first root of present moment awareness. Being just in the present moment rather than dealing with everything all at once and being very dramatic about life. Like, oh my God, I will never be able to deal with all of this. And you won't if you think that way, because it is too much to understand. So we go bit by bit and gain a more clear sight of who we are. And then what happens after a while is we're starting to understand that there are a few things that go in cycles and circles that keep repeating themselves. And these circles are what create this intense despair, and these circles are there because we have found comfort inside them. Comfort from the intense feelings that are underneath. So these cycles, they are there, they are natural, um, they appear because we are constantly acting on memory, which is past. So something I have experienced, I memorize, and then next time I behave based on my memory. That creates a repetition. And when we keep on doing that, when we keep on behaving based on this memory, we create repetitive behavior. And that creates safety. So, but at the same time, we are not acting in present moment. We are not taking our feelings in consideration. We are always acting upon memory, and that bottles up the feelings. This is not easy to understand and to grasp. I'm saying this on an intellectual level right now, but the only way to really break free from these patterns is by slowly experiencing and seeing this pattern. Really by seeing. There's no one who can take this pattern away from you. Only the understanding that this pattern is there will allow you to feel safe enough to drop underneath. And then what we usually have is an emotional so-called climax. That is, emotion comes up in that moment. So that can look like crying, that can look like anger, it can express as an urge to shout or to scream. It can come out in shaking. For some people, when the emotion is very, very intense for a long time, it can even create a habit of the body constantly shaking or twitching, or having a jittery leg or something like that. This can all be like signs that there is a lot of underlying emotion going on. And then we learn to simply be present with these feelings that they can express. And when that happened, we have usually a moment of insight, a moment of understanding why we have created this cycle in the first place. And that gives you a very down-to-earth understanding of yourself. That can look very simple, like seeing that in certain situations you gotta say no to people, or yes, or ask for certain things, ask for help. But as much as this is normally very difficult, by gaining that understanding, we start to really be able to speak this because it is now felt through from intellectual level to emotional level. And the wonderful thing about this is that by gaining this knowledge, we are changing these patterns. We can let go of these patterns without pain. That means also these patterns are also addictions. So we can let go of addictions without forcing ourselves to go through the withdrawal of that, which is a certain kind of aggressive approach to let go of an addiction, to force ourselves to not do it. But the problem is we haven't found a new way to deal with this in that situation. So through this insight, we learn how to deal with the situation better, and we can be free of that addiction. So I've said a lot in this very short time. Please share back with me. Please do feel free to contact me and ask questions. I'm happy to talk more. I'm also happy to discuss. Also, if you have a feeling about what I said, please do consider to think about this yourself. There is no point in just taking what I said as a set of rules or as a grant for yourself. Every person is different. Every person works a little bit different. And so I always suggest feel into it, whether there is something that you can recognize as your own truth. I will put a link underneath this video. Please do feel free to contact me, say hello, and I hope you enjoyed this video. And if you want help with this, feel free to contact me, and you can always book a session with me and we can talk about it more. Thank you so much.